Okay, so today's lesson is going to be absolute value, and I'm going to scroll up here. So at the top, turn to a blank page, and we're going to write absolute value at the very top. And so absolute value, we're going to learn about what absolute value is. And the absolute value lesson will be in our Go Math textbook. It's Go Math lesson 1.3. It's lesson 1.3 on pages 19 through 24. So you're going to be doing some work today on this Go Math lesson 1.3, pages 19 to 24, and you'll see that in a minute. So my question to you, and I want you to think about as you're doing this, our essential question is, how do you find and use absolute value? So how do you find and use absolute value? And we're going to talk about this today. And it's a pretty simple concept. It's not that difficult. The first thing I want to do is my vocabulary. So here's my vocabulary. And so you're copying all of this down. And our first vocabulary word, actually our only vocabulary word, is absolute value. And once again, this is a very easy concept. So at any point, you can stop the video so you can continue taking your notes. So the absolute value of a number is the number's distance from zero. Is the number's distance from zero. And distance meaning how far away. How far away from zero is that? When we're looking at a number line, it's the easiest thing to be able to do is to look at a number line. The symbol that will be used for absolute value is two lines that are parallel. Two lines, and they will have a number inside. And so it would have a number. And it's actually an integer. It could be positive or it can be negative. So an example would be -4, absolute value of -4. Another one would be absolute value of 3. Another one would be absolute value of -9, something like that. Those are all absolute values. And that sign means absolute value. So here's an example. What is the absolute value of -3? So what is the absolute value of -3? The easiest way to do this is to draw a number line. Put your 0 here. Put your -1. Put your -2. Put your -3. And over here is +1 and +2 and +3. And if you can continue going, +4 and so forth. What we're looking for is the absolute value of -3. So we're starting here at -3. We're right here. And the absolute value is the distance away from 0. So here's -3. Here's 0. Remember, here's 0. And how far away are we from 0? And basically what we're going to do is we're just going to count 1, 2, and 3. We're 3 spots away from 0. So our answer would be 3. This is the absolute value of -3. That answer is always going to be a positive number. It's always going to be a positive number. It's always going to be a positive number. So let's look at another one. And if I had to do another one, it would be example, what's the absolute value of 4? So if I had to do my number line, and I have 0 here, and I have 1 here, and I have 2 here, and I have 3 here, and I have 4 here. Well, my absolute value is going to be, how far away am I from 0? And it's pretty simple. 1 spot, 2 spots, 3 spots, 4. I'm actually 4 away from 0. So I'm 4 away from 0. Remember, my answer is always going to be positive. Now, I can continue to do absolute value of like -9. So my absolute value, and I'm just going to erase this part down here, and so you could continue. It's not allowing me to erase, so for some reason it's not allowing me to erase. So I'm just going to go and backtrack and backtrack and backtrack. And if it was the absolute value, and you're just going to write this down below, a little bit below where you're at. And so if it's the absolute value of -9, I would have my number line. Here's my number line. I'd have my -9. I'd have my -8. I'd have my -7. I'd have my -6, and so forth, 5, and -4, and -3, and -2, and -1, and 0. So what it's asking me, it's what is the absolute value of -9? Well, how far away am I from 0? Here's my 0, here's my -9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So we are 9. Remember, the answer is always positive. 9 away from 0. Now let's look at our textbook, and you're going to open your textbook and we're going to go to the lesson. Remember, you can pause at any time. Absolute value. So we're talking about our absolute value. Here's our absolute value. Now, we've already gone over this definition, so we did this part right here already. And let's look at the problem that they have for us. It says, and we're looking right here, graph the following numbers in the number line. Then use your number line to find each absolute value. So graph -7. So here's -7, okay? And then graph 5, and here's 5. And then graph 7, so here is 7. And then graph -2, so here's -2. And then graph +4, and graph -4. So here are all my numbers. They're on the number line. Now, the first one says, what is the absolute value? What is the absolute value of -7? Of -7. So how far is -7 from 0? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 7 away. Remember, our answer is always positive. Okay, and I'm just going to go back and delete that a little bit. So our answer is going to be 7. How far is -2 from 0? -2 is 1, 2 away from 0. So our answer is positive. How far is 5 from 0? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. How far is 4 from 0? It is 4. How far is 7 from 0? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And how far is -4? -4 is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if you notice, all of these answers are positive. So we're just looking at how far they are away from 0. Now, I want you to do 1 and 2 on your own, okay? And then we're going to continue, go ahead and pause it, do 1 and 2 on your own. And now we're going to look at a real-world scenario. Jake uses his online music gift card, so we're right here, to buy an album of songs by his favorite band. Find the negative number, so we need to first find the negative number that represents the change in the balance on Jake's card after his purchase. Explain how absolute value would be used to express that number in this situation. So step 1, find the negative integer that represents the change in the balance. So if you look at the balance, he had $25. Okay, here is his balance. And then he bought an album for $10. So now we're going to minus out those $10, okay, which is a negative number. Minus out. The balance has changed by minus $10. So when he had $25 in his account and he took away $10, now he has $15, right? And we know that he has $15. So look, if we're looking at the absolute value, all right, and so we're looking at the absolute value of -10, we're going to start here, and what is the difference? Obviously, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's 10 away from 0. All right, so the absolute value, if you look here, would be -10 or $10, or the absolute value, which equals 10. Okay, now let's look at, you don't have to do this one. You can cross that off. Now let's look at the next problem. I want you to figure out number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 on your own. The temperature at night reached negative 13 degrees. So this is the temperature. It's very cold. Write an equivalent statement about the temperature using the absolute value of the number. So an equivalent statement would be something like this. And an equivalent statement would equal, well, what's the absolute value of 13? The absolute value of 13 would be, it's 13 away from 0, but it's negative. So it's negative 13. 0 is all the way over here. How many places are we going to go? We're going to go 13 spots. So our absolute value would be positive 13. Now let's look at the next question. And we're almost done. Comparing absolute values. Maria, Susan, George, and Antonio are playing a game on their smartphones. In order to stay in the game, a player has to achieve a positive number of energy points. So you need to have a positive number of energy points. The points needed are shown. So you need to have 20 points, you need to have 25, 30, and 45. Okay, so let's look at, answer the following questions. When you have finished, you will have enough clues to match each smartphone with the correct person. When a player needs a positive number of points, it means that the player's point total is negative. When a player needs a positive number of points, it means the player's total is negative. Maria's point total is less than negative 30. Which number would be less than negative 30? Does Maria need more than 30 points or fewer than 30 points to stay in the game? So I want you to look at this. And so she has negative 30. Does she need more than 30 points or less than 30 points? She needs more than 30 points. So she needs positive 30 points or more. So go ahead and finish this, and then we're going to continue here. You don't need to do this part here. Guided practice, I want you to do number 1. I want you to do number 2, A and B. I want you to do number 3, A, B, and C. Okay, you can cross off number 4. And then when we get to the independent practice, I want you to do number 5, 6, 7, 7A and B, obviously, 8. And I want you to do 9, A, B, 10, 11. And let's continue with 12, 13, and 14. And then we're going to be done. This will be our lesson. I want you to make sure that you have completed, before we take our assessment, I want you to make sure that you have completed all of 1.2. This was the day before, okay? And all of 1.1, which is what we did on Monday, comparing and ordering. So this whole thing should be filled out, okay? I want you to make sure you finish this whole thing. And if you have any questions, I'm here and you can ask me any questions.